third grade. Today is Handwriting Wednesday. It's a great day to sit back and do our handwriting. You're going to need your Zahner Bloser handwriting book. You're going to need a pencil. And you're also going to need your dry erase board and marker, because we're going to practice some of our letters on our boards today because it's a lot easier to play with cursive with our dry erase marker. It's nice and slippery for us. So we're going to try some practice on our board, and then we're going to do some practice in our book. So last time in our handwriting lesson, we are all the way on page. We practiced I. Practice making I. We practice making T. And we practiced U. That's what we've practiced so far. I, T, and U. So what we're going to do on our whiteboards, and if you have the side with the lines, use the side with the lines. Some of your dry erase boards may not have this, and that's okay. Use the blank part as well. I'm going to use the side with the lines to show you. We're going to practice the letters that we have already learned. So we have practiced I, T, and U. So we're going to go ahead and practice that. Let's focus on the I here. So on your dry erase boards, we're going to practice making that I again. Remember, you do that undercurve here, down and loop. So it's undercurve, slant, and it's back down and undercurve, lift, and then you dot. So we go slant, undercurve, lift, dot. Slant, undercurve, lift, dot. And that is a lowercase I. Kind of looks similar to the I that we already know in manuscript. That dot is a good indicator that that is an I. I want you to practice this a few more times on your whiteboard because it feels really nice on the whiteboard. It feels super nice. And make sure you're positioned where you get that nice slant. My first one is probably the best slant. And then it kind of goes up from there. But you want to get that nice slant, undercurve, dot. Slant, undercurve, dot. Slant, undercurve, dot. Slant, undercurve, dot. I want you to practice this a few more times. I want you to at least do it 12 times. That would be a nice practice. So I have 8 right here. 4 more would make 12. And check out and assess yourself as you go. Slant, undercurve, lift, dot. Slant, undercurve, lift, dot. And you can actually, if you're having fun with those I's, go ahead and practice them as many times as you please. You can never get enough practice. So that is a cursive I. Let's take a look at the cursive T that we also learned. You learned the T and the I and the U together because they have that nice slant and undercurve. They have the same kind of patterns when you're making them. So for the T, we do that same slant like we do for the I, but we go all the way up to the top. Go all the way up to the top because it's a tall letter. And we do, now I lift, you saw me lift my pencil, but my pen, but we don't do that when we're doing cursive. I just wanted to show you that. We go all the way to the top, so I'm going to do that again. So I'm going to do that slant to the top, back down, undercurve. It's the same thing as the I. Remember the I is slant, down, undercurve, lift. The only difference is that this one is taller. The T is taller, of course. Just like a manuscript T is tall. The cursive T is just as tall. You can see that here in this image as well in your book. So to finish off the T, you go ahead and right above that blue midline, I would put the T cross there. I would cross it straight. Then I want you to practice this at least 12 times too, so you can really get a feel for it. And I'm telling you, it's super nice with this dry erase marker. It's so nice. And it doesn't matter if you don't have the lines, that's okay. If you do, please use them. If you don't have the lines, you just have a whiteboard, it is just as nice. So you go slant, down, undercurve, cross. I might want to make that one a little bit taller. Slant, undercurve, cross. Slant, undercurve, cross. So it's just as good. So use what you have. I just want you to really, really feel it on this whiteboard because it feels amazing. And it really, really helps you get those moves down. So I'm going to go ahead and show you this a few more times. Slant, undercurve, T. Slant, undercurve, T. Now let me tell you something about handwriting. Handwriting is not something that you should set out to perfect. It's something to practice and keep getting better at. Never be too hard with yourself when it comes to handwriting. I find handwriting super relaxing. And as you can see when I'm doing my letters, they're not perfect. My T's are not perfect. Some of them need better slants and some of them don't. But that doesn't make me stop. I keep going and going and practicing until it becomes natural. When you get older and become Mrs. Gosnell's age, you notice that your cursive kind of becomes your own. It's common in the way that the letters are formed, but you kind of make it your own. And that's what's so fun about cursive. But the most important thing I told one of our classmates the other day is that you're learning how to read cursive. That's very important, if not as important as writing it. We need to know how to read cursive writing because that helps us stay literate in all forms, So there I did. I went ahead and did it 12 times. I want you to practice the T 12 times. Then we're going to go ahead and practice the letter U here too. And they taught you the T, the I, the T, and the U together because they have that nice slant and undercurve move. The U is very similar to the I. It's almost like making double I's, but you're not dotting them. So you're going to do that slant, undercurve, up, undercurve, lift. No dots, and that's the U. So that's a slant, undercurve, up, lift. Almost looks like a sideways W, doesn't it? This is the part you focus on here. That when you see that, that tells you that that's the U. The W looks a little bit differently, and we'll get into the W sooner than later. Oh, that's the U. I want you to practice this. It's almost like making those double I's. It seems a lot like that. I want you to practice this 12 times on your whiteboard or as many times as you want. You can continue to practice as many times as you want. Cursive writing is definitely fun. So if you're one of those who find it fun, especially using your marker, the marker really does make it a lot easier, I tell you. And then the marker is good practice to use because you can get those hand motions. And notice when I'm making my U, I am not lifting my hand until I am done. Slant, undercurve, up, in and up. Notice that. Not lifting my hand to make these. I'm just going with the flow. It's kind of like making the letter and tracing it back down. It's like a challenge. So make sure you're practicing that U 12 times. And then I want you to try something that we did on the end of page 35, where they went ahead and they joined some of these together. They did the T, the I, and the U. I want you to try that. So I'm gonna do the U first. So we're gonna do the U here. And then when you connect a letter, it's almost like they're merged together. They're part of each other. Look at this. Look at that. How I connected that I. See, when a U is by itself, you see it leaves that little tail there. Well, that's when you're making a word in cursive, that's the start of the next letter. That's why that tail is there, because the letters are connected in cursive writing. So you'll notice that a lot of cursive writing, like the T and the I, you have that curly tail right there at the end. They call that the undercurve. I like to call it the curly tail. That's because that is the connector. We need that to connect to the next letter. That is necessary. That's why we do that little loop, and that's why it doesn't look like this, okay? We need that long loop because that's connecting it to the next letter. So you can see that when you try to join the letters together. So I'm going to do the U-I-T again. See, there's my U by itself, but as I come up, I'm going to be making my I, and then I'm going to be making my T. See, it's all looped together. That's why you need that tail. All looped together. See how you need that undercurve to connect? So we're going to do it one more time on our dry erase boards, and then we are going to try it in our books. So I really want you to get a feel for how our letters are connecting. So we have U, I, and then T connected here. And in our books, we're going to go to page 36. Remember, we have our handwriting book here, Zaner Bloser. I can't believe we made it to page 35 already. Now we're going to move on to 36, and you're going to notice a pattern here in our cursive writing. So we're going to work on that W next. You're going to notice a huge pattern here. You're going to notice the same pattern in U. In U. So first we're going to do our W here on our whiteboard. I want you to practice on your whiteboard, then we're going to do it on our paper. And so we're going to start here at the midline. We're going to start like we're making that U. We're going to go up, and then that undercurve down. And then the difference here is it has this check stroke. They call that the check stroke. And so that is the connector. Remember I told you that little tail before was a connector? Well, the connector for the W is this check stroke. So you go undercurve, up, over, check stroke. Undercurve, up. You can do those, check stroke. I like to call these slants, but they are undercurves as well. This is an undercurve up, which I call a slant. Then you do that undercurve, another undercurve slant, and then the check stroke. That is a W. Now the big difference between a W and a U is that check stroke here, that check stroke. So we're going to practice on page 36, and then we'll do our E's. We'll do our E's, okay? So we're going to go ahead and do our W's here. You're going to practice that same movement. You get to trace it here. You get to trace, 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 trace. Trace, 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 trace. And then here you go. You're going to do it down here until you get to the check mark that says stop. And you're going to do the same here. Now, pay attention to these dots here. They're training wheels. You're going to start there with that undercurve slant, undercurve up, and checkpoint. Like that's not the best W I've ever done. So keep trying. I'm not going to erase it. And you shouldn't either. So if you notice, hey, I could have done a little bit better, just do it better the next time as you go across. Don't erase it and try again. There's no need for that. So all you got to do is just try again. That's why we practice all the way straight through. And I like to follow the letter that's above it. I like to look at the W above and just try to mimic. Woo! That one could have been better. Look at that. So I'm going to try to make it better this time around. And look. So don't waste your time erasing and trying it again. Plus, that messes up your page a little bit, makes it harder to write on. Just make sure you're trying it again the next time better. So make sure you're going all the way straight through. All right. The next thing you're going to do, it says you're going to join the W with other letters. So remember that check stroke we talked about? This little check stroke here? You're going to use that to connect it to a U, an I, a T, and a W, and then a TW. You're going to see how they connect. So we're going to practice that on our whiteboards first. Or however you prefer, that's up to you. But I think it's practice on your whiteboard is a lot easier than the paper to begin with and then do it on the paper. So we're going to take this W and we're going to connect it to that U. See this check stroke? Now I lifted my hand, but you're not supposed to. I want you to notice that check stroke because that's going to connect the U. I'm going to do that again without lifting. Boom, there's my U, W-U. I can try that again. Undercurve, up, check stroke, connect the U. So when you think about your cursive letters, when we did the U's, we had this big slant here. But if the W's check stroke is up high, you're not going to have that low. It's gonna kind of merge into the W. It's going to be connected at the top here. It's very important to notice. So that's this one. W, connect the U. And what I would do is go ahead and trace these all before attempting them down here. This one is connecting the W and the I. So we know how to do that. So the big difference here is that W connects the letters from the top, that check stroke. So we have the W, check stroke, I. Now that changes the look of the I a little bit. Check that out. It really does. And you're going to notice that down here on your paper. And that's what it's supposed to look like. When you're connecting letters, connecting another letter to a letter that has a high check stroke like that, you're going to notice it kind of has that little arch thing going on here. Check stroke, connect my I. I'm going to make my I. It's the same thing with the T down here. I make my W, check stroke. See that? And that's good. And when I do my T, the T doesn't look like it normally does, like how I practiced it, but you could still see the formation of the T. So I want you to go ahead and complete all of these. You also connect the U and the W. And then you keep adding on to that. And I really want you to take your time with this. Really take your time. And accepting your mistakes. That's okay. Just go ahead and accept your mistakes. This one's connecting the U, the I, and the T. Now I want you to work through page 36. Now, we're going to go ahead and move on to page 37. And since our handwriting is getting more detailed, we're going to take it a little bit slower now. So we're only going to be doing page 36 and 37 today because I really want you to practice what you're learning. So after we're done this, if you want to get out your whiteboard and practice all the new letters you've learned, go ahead and do that. Remember, we know how to make I. We learned how to make U so far. W with that check mark, that check stroke. We also learned, which one else am I? Oh, T, of course. Now we're going to learn an E, which is one of my favorites. It's my name, my first name, an E. So an E, I want you to go ahead and pay attention to the arrows here. It starts with that slant upward stroke that under curved stroke we're so used to, except it does like a little loop-de-loop here and loops back up. Notice that in the word elephant here. It's 2 E's. So it goes undercurve, up, loop back, slant, undercurve. So we go, I want you to go ahead and trace these. Goes undercurve, slant, up, loop back, down. That loop is really fun. Just go ahead and trace these, and remember, don't lift your pencil until you're finished. After you're done that, before you start, after you've traced it, before you start finishing the rest on your book, I want you to try to practice on your whiteboard. So I want you to do that undercurve slant, loop around, and go back up. Undercurve slant, loop around, come back up. Undercurve, loop, undercurve, loop, undercurve, loop, undercurve, loop, undercurve, loop. It's really fun with the marker. After you get a hang of it using your marker and dry erase board, I want you to try it on your paper. You're going to go all the way down till you get to the stop sign. Circle your best. Oh, never forget, always circle your best one on all those pages. It's always going to ask you to circle your best one. We're going to actually be making words down here. We have tie, we, tweet, and wet. So we're actually going to be making real words here. So here you're going to be practicing connecting the E to the W and the E to the I and E's to the T's. So that looks something like this. So the E is going to be first here. And then go right into that W. E is going to be first here and go right into that T. You would do the same for like an I. So you're going to go ahead and on page 37 in your handwriting book, you're going to go ahead and try to do those and connect those together. All the way down to the stop sign. You're going to do each and every one of these. So you're just going to look above here, trace that, and try it on your own down here. And right here, you are going to do real words. Tie. We. Tweet. Ooh. Notice this W here has that check stroke. W, check stroke, E. Really practice those. And when you are done finishing your book page, why don't you get out your dry erase board and just practice what you've learned. Try to connect all those letters. You can do strings like E to T to I to W to, what other one did we, oh, to U. That doesn't make a word, but it's still practice. See if you can make a word with the words that the letters we just learned. So have fun with it. I'm going to let you get to it